Good morning, everybody. It's 8 o'clock here in Seattle, and I got a long drive ahead of me. I am taking the long-term Subaru Outback Onyx XT on a road trip. I'm driving from Seattle to San Francisco in one straight shot. That's roughly about 12 hours of driving. The vehicle today is going to be wearing Vredestein Quad-Track Pro tires. Those are an all-season radial, which is good because we might hit all types of weather along the way. I got all my luggage in the back. I got a full tank of gas. It's currently 36 degrees outside, and I'm ready to go. So this drive basically is taking I-5 all the way down. There are some other more creative routes, but they do take way longer. I've done the coastal route. It takes almost 2 days. This one, 12 hours is going to be tough because, you know, calculating that in, you're not compensating for lunch, for gas stops, for bathroom stops, for anything that could just happen along the way, traffic. Although it is Sunday, so there shouldn't be much traffic out today. It should be pretty straightforward. It's nice and misty out. We're in the Redmond Valley, which has a tendency to kind of grab a lot of mist here. This is very close to, of course, Microsoft is right up the street. Kirkland, where I live, is just over there. Okay, there are a few things I'm concerned with along this trip. Getting through Tacoma without traffic, that always usually sucks. And then also Portland, going into Portland, crossing across the Washington-Oregon border, that usually can suck. And then south of there is a mountain pass that sometimes does get snow, but it's not really that high of a mountain, and that's right as I'm going in through like the Shasta area. So that could possibly be some bad weather. I honestly haven't even looked, so we'll see what we get. And then after that, it's basically boredom sets in because the drive from Shasta to San Francisco is a whole lot of nothing. If you time it right, you can get some spectacular sunrises and sunsets, but we're going to be probably going through there mid-afternoon, so probably won't get it. Unless I'm delayed, in which case I might get rewarded with a lovely sunset. Anyway, onward. I need to reset the tripometer. Just a few data points. The vehicle currently has 2,128 miles on the odometer, and I just reset the fuel. It says that I have 300 miles remaining in the tank, whatever that calculation is, and I will give you an update on the MPGs a little bit later. Navigate to Pleasant Hill, California.
Getting directions to Pleasant Hill.
There we go. So it currently says that it is 11 hours, 47 minutes. I have 793 miles to go, and I should arrive by 8:15 p.m. Of course, that does not take into account gas stops, bathroom stops, whatever stops. There will be stops. You know, I often thought that this new Subaru Outback was one of the most comfortable cars you could buy in this class, and I'm definitely going to be putting that to the test today. You know, you sit on anything for 12 hours and you're going to have an opinion about it. Right. Let's go ahead and kick in adaptive cruise control, and let's go ahead and turn on the adaptive steering. Let's get that steering wheel is now green, and now it'll steer itself. Although, you know, I'm going to keep my hands on the wheel for safety's sake, because that's what you're supposed to do. You know, I often comment how these steering systems, these like auto steer systems, are really good for interstate travel, and they are. But I mean, I think we'll really see that today because I'm definitely going to be putting that to the test in real world here, because I really have to drive 12 hours to get where I'm going. And then when I'm done, so to give you a little background on what I'm doing, when I'm not working on Driving Sports TV, I am a professional DP. I basically do camera work for other shows. Some of those shows you might be familiar with. Ammo NYC, I've done a whole bunch of stuff with Larry. I did the first season of The House of Muscle on Motor Trend, and one of my buddies is Mike Musto from that show. So I'm driving down to meet up with my buddy Mike, who has a new gig over at Hemmings Auto News, and we're going to be filming a bit for Hemmings. So this is going to be fun. So why am I driving instead of flying? Well, first off, I got a whole bunch of equipment in the back. That's kind of a pain to take on the plane. But also, I was reading yesterday about how many people are still getting on planes for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's in like 4 days. And I was reading about how many people are getting onto planes still. And with the cases of COVID increasing, I kind of thought, you know what, maybe it's a good time for a road trip and stay away from people. I don't like traveling on airplanes during Thanksgiving in a non-pandemic season. Add in a little pandemic and I'm more than ready to jump in the car and drive 3 states away. Here we are finally on Interstate 5, and the kind of cool thing about this is I basically just stay here until I'm like within 20 miles of Pleasant Hill, and then at that point I take an exit. But for the most part, I'm going to be on this same freeway all across 3 states. Now it's time to do the first coffee stop, and I'm going to go to the Starbucks off of Slater-Kinney Road in Olympia. Now, if Slater-Kinney sounds familiar, it's because, yeah, it's the road that the band got their name after. Carrie Brownstein and the other person, when they went to school in Olympia, they apparently liked the name. I don't really know the story there. But fact is that Slater-Kinney Road was the namesake for the band Slater-Kinney. And also, I went to school with Carrie Brownstein. She was in my high school before she moved to Olympia. I remember her. I don't know if she remembers me. It's not really that big of a deal. Just kind of a funny little, haha, look at that. Curious what I get? Okay, well, this is dark roast Christmas blend, lemon loaf, and a bag of almonds. The horsepower on this car, love it. It's a nice sweet spot for daily drivability that still is relatively quick. Of course, the faster I go, the worse my MPGs. I've already taken a slight dip here, so I'm gonna go ahead and tuck in behind somebody else here. I'm gonna go ahead and set my cruise control, put on auto steering, wait for that to go green, and now we're pretty much good until the Oregon border. So just an update on numbers. We're about to cross into Oregon, and let's see, the Odo is showing 2,295 miles. I'm showing that I've driven 167.3. The fuel shows 220 miles remaining on the tank with an average MPG of 24.3 MPGs. To get into Oregon, we're going to be crossing over the Columbia River. Okay, once we go into Oregon, we also have to reduce our speed. Now, let's talk about MPGs, because clearly I'm not getting the 30 MPG that they advertise for this vehicle in highway driving. But keep in mind, the target for that is about 60 miles per hour or less, and I think it's 55, and it's on a level surface. It's not at plus 70 miles per hour up and down hills as I am doing here. So I'm actually pretty happy with these MPGs. Yeah, these are solid numbers as far as I'm concerned. They're definitely within the spectrum of what I would expect when driving at a higher rate of velocity than the way in which they test it. Okay, so here's the bridges coming up. So we're in Washington State. Can we hold our breath across the bridge? And we're in Oregon. It's a game we used to play when I was little. But maybe I shouldn't do it while driving. No, I'm good. I'm good. And now we're going to go through the city of Portland, which surprisingly, Portland's not actually right where we connect, but what is right where we connect is Portland International Raceway. Now, interesting thing about Portland International Raceway, the streets actually have names. The different parts of the road course have names because it is built literally on the ruins of a town called Vanport. It was the second largest city in Oregon at the time. This is probably back 1930s, 40s, I think. And the Columbia River, which it is on, flooded it and basically wiped out the town. And what was left over were the streets. So in the 1950s, there became a rise of street culture, like street racing culture, and they started to race on the streets. And over time, they kind of wove together a course. And that course eventually became Portland International Raceway. After we go through Portland here, the next stop is going to be, boy, we'll have to get gas at some point. How many miles do I have for gas? 220 miles. So I might be able to get as far as Ashland. Ashland is, of course, well known for their Shakespeare Festival that they have every year, and it's kind of a college town. So we'll see if we can get that far. I just honestly don't know. I don't have that math in my head as to, I'm not sure exactly how many miles it is to Ashland. But if not, we'll just stop somewhere else and I'll keep you updated. So let's go ahead and keep on rolling as we say goodbye to Portland and on to Ashland. Both me and the car have been on the road for 4 hours or so now, and we're both getting hungry. The car is showing that it has 80 miles left on the tank. Of course, that is to completely empty, which I don't really want to go there. Odometer is currently at 2,457. The trip shows it at 329.8. Average MPGs are 24.3 miles to the gallon, and it is currently 1:03 p.m. So the big question, I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere in Oregon. Where am I going to eat some lunch? I don't think I'll make it all the way to Medford, because Medford is still about 80 miles away, so that's a little too cutting it close. So I'm basically going to stop at the next opportunity and grab some food and gas. I really like the suspension on this Legacy. It's a nice compromise between sportiness and smoothness. Just this whole package has been such a great drive. I mean, 4 hours in, I've done this trip multiple times. Last time I did it in a large truck. I've done it in race cars. I've done it in pretty much everything. I did it in a Miata once. This is probably the most comfortable I've been. Now, granted, I've never done it in a Mercedes E-Class, because I'm sure that would absolutely move the bar. This is lovely out here. Been absolutely no traffic on this whole trip, which is great. Nothing slows down a trip like lots of traffic. In fact, it's now telling me that I'm going to arrive at my destination by 7:51 tonight. Of course, that's going to get delayed as I go get gas and food at the next opportunity. Boy, this is middle of nowhere. Romulo's Mexican. Don't really want to get like a whole plate of Mexican food. I need something quick. Current fuel price is let's see, that's cash, that's credit card, $2.59 a gallon. Okay. I was in Texas a few weeks ago and I was paying, I think, $1.80 a gallon. And this has fuel tank on the right. Okay, there we go. Oh, we're in Oregon. They have to fill me up. Oh, that's so frustrating.
Can we get for you?
Just fill it up with regular.
All right.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Cool, thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Yep, 14.97 at 249.99, and we're looking at 37.28 on the fill-up. Great. Let's go get some lunch. Leg number 2. So I'm going to go ahead and so that was 342.4 miles on the tripometer. So I'm going to go ahead and reset that. because we also have the odometer, which is at 2,470, so we can measure the overall with the odometer. I'm just going to measure legs with the trip. Ah, yes. Onward. It wouldn't be a road trip without getting stuck in construction traffic. This looks like it only goes a couple miles, but we're getting close to Grants Pass, and I don't know what's going on. I haven't seen any signage. I can just tell on navigation that there's a slowdown due to construction. And I don't know what this truck guy's doing. He's just hovering here. I remember it was about 15 years ago, I was running the Subi Fest event, and I brought one of my race cars to the event, and it was in Southern California, and I had to trailer it all the way there. And so I borrowed a friend's F-150, maybe it was an F-250, it was pretty big, and an enclosed box carrier, and brought it all the way down. It was my very first time actually towing something. And of course, a car in a box, that's a lot of weight. And I was basically white knuckling it through this pass the entire time. It's freaking me out just because of the weight. You feel the shifting in the back, you're running your brakes down here and you're steering up here, you're just doing a lot more stuff. And now that I've done it a few times, it's not a big deal, but the very first time going through a pass with a load that heavy, it was a little intimidating. So there's exit 88. We have 2,517 miles on the Odo, 47.3 on the Trip, which I of course reset a little while back there. And because I've been doing a lot of climbing up to that 2,000 foot elevation, my average MPGs have taken a nosedive to 22.8. Now that is of course just over from my last reset. If it gets under 20, I'm going to be worried, but so far I think that's okay considering what we've done. And as far as comfort goes, I mean, geez, I've been driving, I left a little bit before 9. So I've been here like more than 5 hours and I'm fine. I mean, really, this car is one of the most comfortable long distance road trip vehicles I've ever been in, like hands down. The weather's been holding out actually, which has been kind of surprising. The clouds have rolled in, no rain yet. I know that's like the magic words, but so far no rain. And I still have 5 hours, 51 minutes to get to, where am I going? I don't know, someplace in California. And 400 miles on the nose, rest to go. And according to this, my fuel tank, I have 370 miles. I could, if I really hypermile it, I'm guessing I possibly could get there with one refill mid-course. I don't really want to push it, so I definitely will get at least one more tank of gas before my final destination. Last thing I really want to do is end up on the side of the road in the dark with an empty tank of gas because I did a bad job of calculating. Even though we were already just past 2,000 feet there, we're climbing again, and this is going to, I'm sure, ding the MPGs as we're making an approach towards Grants Pass, which is the highest pass, it's the highest point on I-5 going between Washington and California. Adaptive cruise control with lane centering really is a game changer for interstate travel. The only thing I run up against is sometimes the line I want to take around a corner isn't the line that the car wants to take, so I end up fighting it a little bit, but it's easy to fix. All I do is hit this button and it still keeps adaptive cruise control on, it just lets me do all the driving. And then once I get through the corners, I just turn it back on. Once it detects the lanes, it's driving for me essentially at that point, which just, it really cuts down. All those little micro adjustments that you make while driving really do add up over, you know, hundreds and hundreds of miles of stretch. This just keeps it really easy. It's so nice. There we go, Misty Woods of Oregon. It's a very Oregon looking scene there. Lumber. About to dip into the fog. It's like driving right into a cloud. And visibility is declining. Wow, that's a thick cloud. Huh. Can still see ahead though. I think we're okay. 6% descent. This should improve my MPGs because after that last climb, I'm up to 22.7 based on the calculation from that reset, which was about an hour ago. says roads might be icy. That's because I just hit 37 degrees. This is actually kind of the fun part because there's actually corners that we get to drive through. There's so many miles of this stretch are just flat and straight. Specifically after I get through Shasta, California is just boom right there. Yeah, so my MPGs have already picked up to 23.4. Boy, I wonder, what do you do out here? I guess you could be a remote worker. Or, yeah. Kind of what I always wonder as I travel around the country is like, what do these people do? I mean, I grew up on a island on the Canadian border, and I mean, I know what it's like to live in a small remote location. You do what you do, but even the town that I lived in seemed bigger than this place. I mean, this is really like middle of nowhere. I think this is more remote than the island I lived on. At least I could jump on a ferry and in 2 hours I was, back in civilization. Here, what are we, 3 hours from like the closest big city? Can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but you will note on my dashboard that there is actually a low tire pressure warning. That's because when we switched out to the Vredestein tires, it didn't put the TPMS sensors in each tire, so it's seeing no data, so therefore it has the warning. It doesn't mean I actually have flat tires, it's not, the sensor isn't reading, because there's no sensors here. The town of Merlin. No wonder why it's cloaked in fog and mystery. It's the town of Merlin. This is the Rogue River. I don't have any trivia about Merlin. I know there's the Rogue River and there's a beer named after it, but that's pretty much all I know. Wow, that's pretty incredible. In the mist is Mount Shasta ahead of us. Oh, you can barely see it in the horizon. That's a big mountain far away. Anyway, we're getting close. That's good, because Shasta means that California is just ahead. Although it's still probably 30 minutes away, at least. I am 98 miles in since my last reset. Current odo's at 2,568. I'm averaging 23.5 mpgs, definitely driving over 70 miles per hour, and I have 330 miles based on the current calculations till I have an empty fuel tank. I have 5 hours remaining on my drive and 350 miles. So there, we got that. I am surrounded by mountains. This is awesome. I love road trips like this. And I'd like to thank you for coming along on this road trip with me. It's kind of nice not to be all by myself here, And yeah, you're watching this after the fact, but, it works in my head. So I am almost in California. Yeah. It's not really foggy here. It looks like it's, forest fires. I bet it's forest fires. Because it's kind of that dingy fog, not like normal fog. Ugh. Okay, now the road's starting to get twisty as we're getting closer to Mount Shasta here, definitely in the foothills, which makes it a little more complicated to keep the auto steering on, so I'm just going to shut that off, because as the corners get tighter, it's like saying, nah, I think you should do it yourself. And that's totally legit, I understand that. We're definitely starting to get into different terrain now. It's drier, the mountains are pokier, more rugged, because we're getting closer now to the mountain range that surrounds Mount Shasta. Hey, look, it's a Mitsubishi Outlander. Don't see many of those on the road. We're almost up at snow level, actually. I still don't think we're going to see any snow on the road. It's 37 degrees out. It'd have to be pretty close. Oregon thanks you. Come back soon. Okay. We are now officially entering, fanfare here, welcome to California. Boom. And here we are, California. So now we need to watch out for the California State Patrol. Not like I'm doing anything wrong. driving okay here. Give an update here. We're looking at 22.7 miles to the gallon after a long climb up to this mountain range. We're at mile 2,605 on the odometer, 134.9 since I reset, and 240 miles remaining on this tank of gas. I have to go still 313 miles, and I have 4.5 hours of driving. It's now showing that I'm going to arrive around 7:57 p.m. But I am going to do at least one more stop, which is going to add at least 10 to 20 more minutes onto that. So there we go. This time of year, it gets dark early. It's 3:30 and already the light is starting to fade. We have a complete sunset at around a little bit after 4:30. I think it's about 4:50 today. Actually, let's see. It's at 4:43. Oh good, I can finally go back up to speed. 55, 65. And we're at 3,000 feet elevation. Update on comfort, still feeling pretty good. I am starting to feel a little bit in my legs, just a little bit. Not sore or anything like that. I'm just it's starting to feel a little fatigued from sitting in the same position for so long. But I really got to commend, these seats are so much better than the older Subaru seats, and actually better than a lot of things on the market. Yeah, it's just super comfortable. I'm keeping them just on low heat, and I like to kind of keep the cabin a little bit on the cooler side. And what do we have here? We have a mandatory checkpoint of some sort. Oh yeah, because we just went into California. Oh, this is the Agricultural Inspection Center.
Any fruit with you today?
Nope.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Do I have any fruit? No, I do not have any fruit. Someday I'll be living in a big old city. It's cold. That was a stop at mile 2,621 on the odometer, 151.2 since last reset. I have 296 miles to go to destination, and I should arrive at 8 p.m. My MPGs are about 23 because a lot of this, and that's gonna not be so good for that. The sun is about to set, and I'm at the foothills of Mount Shasta. This is like this big valley area where there's a lot of farming right before I get to the mountain. And this is kind of a funny area. I just passed a bunch of hay bales with a sign on it that says State of Jefferson, which is kind of a funny thought. So Northern California is not at all like Southern California in regard of it is not as liberal as either San Francisco or Los Angeles is. This is a very conservative farming community, and they very much would love to secede. The problem with that whole concept, of course, is the fact that most of California's economic power is concentrated in San Francisco and Los Angeles, you know, with Sacramento and all those other areas as well. So if you did have Northern California secede, there's no major cities up here. I mean, you got Redding, that's it. So is it ever gonna happen? No. But it's kind of funny to think that right now I am traveling through the state of Jefferson. And this is kind of a weird time of day. We got the sun over there streaming in straight to my face. And on the left, I can't tell if that's rain or smoke from forest fires, but it's definitely very dark. It's like sunshine, Mount Doom. I am maintaining 23.2 miles to the gallon. I have 230 miles to go of range on this tank. I'm at mile 2,642 on the Odo, 171 miles since my trip was reset. I have 275 more miles to drive tonight, and it's roughly 4 hours to go. I should arrive at about 8 o'clock. Right on. Press on. Still comfortable, still doing great, not tired at all. Would love to get a cup of water or something, but there really hasn't been any reason to stop. That is pretty. So there we go, pressing on. And there it is, Mount Shasta. My God, it's epic. It's too bad I can't see it better. I love coming through here when it's clear because then you can just see it all the way to the tip. But right now it's a little foggy. Still, really impressive. Gorgeous. Let's turn off that auto steer. It's getting a little too wiggly here. And then we have its little brother right here. Dude, check out that Suburban. That's sweet. Oh well, anyway, look at that guy. Okay, and that is Mount Shasta. Now we're moving on to Redding. I think I'll probably stop for dinner in Redding. That makes sense. Probably get gas in Redding too, actually. I am showing 23 miles to the gallon on my average since I last reset at 183 miles ago. Pretty cool. With the sun setting, this is probably the last shot you're going to get with where we can see anything outside. So next thing we'll catch up in the dark. The lake is low. So I've driven 329 miles since I last filled up with gas, and a lot of that has been mountains up and down, and that of course really hurt my MPGs. Well, now I've been driving pretty flat for a while, maybe an hour, and my MPGs are already up to 24.3. So I can see that it's dramatically improving. I'm expecting that after the next gas fill that I'll probably, as long as I'm maintaining a level surface, I'll probably be closer to around 26 to 28 MPGs, which is much closer to that 30 MPGs that Subaru claims. Now, of course, keep in mind, I'm going over 70 miles per hour, and wind resistance plays a huge part in MPGs. They don't test at 70 miles per hour. They test at closer to I think it's like 55 or 60. So, got to keep that in mind. Now, to check up on me and how I'm doing, I mean, seriously, I've been driving in this car for more than 10 hours straight. I'm fine. I mean, legs are a little tired, no big deal. The adaptive cruise control system has worked just phenomenally. One thing I did notice is that as I was going through some twisty areas, it actually slowed down as I was winding the wheel around. And then as I straightened back out, it would accelerate. So it's not just a flat speed, and nor does it just do pacing. It adjusts based on the kind of, steering inputs that it's receiving. So it just collects a lot of data, which gives a really good adaptive cruise control driving experience. As it is right now, I'm getting close to empty, so I'm going to pull off for some gas, and I'll check back in after I get accumulated mileage after that last stop. It's just a little more awkward to kind of film in the dark like this. So pressing on, get some gas, get you another mileage reading, and we'll wrap this up. Oh, I should probably say I'm currently at 2,803 miles on the Odo, 332 on the Trip. I have 111 miles remaining in my journey, 1 hour, 33 minutes of driving. I should arrive at 8:31. 30 minutes of those were waiting in line to get my dinner, because in Redding, apparently, all the restaurants are closed. You can only go through drive-thru, which means all of town were in line at the drive-thru, which took forever. So, anyway, pressing on. At 2,842 miles, I pulled off and got some gas. And this is what I filled up. I filled up 15.41 gallons at a price of $3.39 a gallon for $52.39 total. Now I have reset my tripometer, which means that it's resetting the calculations for the average MPGs. But on this leg of the trip, I'm going to stay mostly level. And beyond that, I'm also keeping my cruise control pegged at 70 miles per hour. I'm going no faster. I am going a little slower sometimes because of trucks in the way, and I got to go around them. So this is not exactly scientific, but it is kind of close to, it's a real world ballpark number here. Here we are at 29.3 miles since I reset the trip after getting gas. There was a little bit of acceleration getting onto the freeway, and the surface hasn't been as flat as I was hoping. There's a little bit of undulation up and down, but it's mostly smooth compared to the, what we did in Washington and Oregon. And I am looking at 26.9 mpgs, almost 27. And I think that's actually really good, considering I am pegged at 70 miles per hour. There's a lot more wind resistance at 70 versus 60. So I think that's actually pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. I have 30 more minutes to go until I arrive at my destination. Thank you for coming along with me on this drive. It has been a lot of fun. I can't believe how comfortable this Subaru Outback Onyx XT is on long trips. The combination of the adaptive cruise control with the auto steer, the seats, just everything just feels great. And I gotta also thank the Vredestein for sending me these tires, because they are super smooth. It did rain a little bit. Traction wise, could hardly tell the difference between it when it was raining and it was dry. These things have such good grip. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douth, and thanks for watching. This is not our normal episode, but I thought it would be something that you guys might enjoy. Post a comment below. Do you want to see more of this? Do you want to see less of it? Do you never want to see it again? Let me know, and we'll take that into account. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again right here next week.